All right, good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce our 38th Commandant, General Berger. General. All yours, sir. Always a pleasure to have you on board, sir.
Thanks, Sergeant Major. First of all, thanks to the association just for inviting us down here. We were talking at dinner. Normally Donna would be with me, but last night our son, who's a major on recruiting duty, his wife and their 3 kids drove down to Washington, D.C. So when there's grandkids, like, okay, you know the rest of this. Got it, okay. I'm way down below the dog, right? If you probably noticed when General Girardi was up here talking, perhaps a little bit of similarity. We are not brothers, actually, but we try to change our hairstyle each time we're up on the podium back to back, and it never really works. There's a lot of folks in the room. I will ask your indulgence not to go through name by name because there's so many familiar faces in here, and it'd be 5 minutes of recognizing you. Just please accept that the fact that I'm not mentioning each name doesn't mean anything less. I will say, though, that the folks in this room, this is intimidating if you're me from one angle, because there are folks in this room from gunner to general and sergeant major and master gunny who have coached and mentored and teach me for 40 years now. So I'm very grateful for all of that. And I won't mention you by name. I'm just very grateful. This event, this dinner, as General Girardi said, really special, I think, because it allows a bunch of professional Marines in the same room with veteran Marines and the people that make our equipment and weapon systems and all under the same roof for a couple hours. It's really powerful. You can get a lot of thinking done there. Last September, I spoke at the breakfast, Marine Corps Association breakfast. I learned in that hour and a half a ton. Wrote a whole bunch of notes. I'm sure I already have a bunch of notes from tonight. And I mention that because the conversations are really the important part here. Because it would be a lot of effort for us to talk amongst each other. I'm really grateful that we have this chance. I'm gonna learn a lot more tonight. There are some ideas I think that I don't see even like a paper napkin on the table, but there's a lot of ideas that go back and forth on paper. And at some of these kinds of meetings, one of them I would say, I don't know whether it was a back of a napkin or whatever, but the Marine Corps Association's decision to shift this coming year, no small decision. You highlighted it. Because it's been in Quantico for years, and we're comfortable with doing it in Quantico. Going to another location and taking a giant step up. I'm very proud that it's happening. I know it from General Faulkner to you, a lot of planning and some amount of risk in doing that. Because we could just keep doing Quantico, and we know how to do Quantico, but we need to move it to the next level. I'm really grateful. We had to cancel the Marine Corps Association Modern Day Marine last year. That was really frustrating, but it was the right one at the time. And we talked about it. Should we go ahead with it? Should we not? And then Marine South here canceled again, 22, and I think it's the right decision as well. But tonight, at least we can all get in the same room, exchange ideas. I can listen to Pat Wolhoff again tell me how I need to concentrate, focus more, because he's been working on me for 35 years in this. General Girardi, Chuck mentioned a little bit about the history of modern day Marine. And not many of y'all were probably around in 1991 when the first one went, but it's come really, I think, a long way. Each year adding events. Last year, huge. When we had it last at Quantico, there were a lot of vendors and a lot of people. All that's impressive, but I think the decision that you made, well, like, we can do better than this. There is another level to get to. I think in May, when you go to the convention center, it's just gonna be awesome. That's no small lift for the association. Huge effort for you all. But I think it's gonna be really a great event. We have to show the Marine Corps, as General Chirati said, to the rest of the country, to the rest of the nation, to congressmen. And I think that event is going to be the place where it's going to happen. It'll be bigger, it'll be better, but really it's about where the Marine Corps is going, and like you're saying, them understanding where we're going and why. And then, okay, then all things make possible after that. And then we'll learn a lot from this one, I'm sure. The association and the Marine Corps will learn a lot from this one and the next one and the next one. I didn't know it was 30 years. Brian, I can't believe you let him sign a 30-year contract, but back to this dinner and tonight. This dinner also, for me, if you've been to a bunch of them at different locations, here probably in particular connects the community in a different sort of a way. The local community. I walk in here and I see out there, and I shook hands and hugged a bunch of people that I served alongside that settled here in Jacksonville, and they just continue to give back to the Marine Corps. They never have stopped. I won't call you all out, but I'm really grateful to see that you're here, because the support that the community here gives to this base, in my opinion, and I've been stationed in Japan and at Camp Lejeune and Camp Pendleton multiple times. This place is unique. I think perhaps driven by Beirut in 1983 to a whole nother level. But from that point forward, this community wraps its arms around this base in a way that doesn't really, no other place would be hard to, it'd be hard to duplicate it. For me personally, just me personally, this is as close to home as the Berger family has. We've had a son born here, a couple graduate from school here. Our daughter-in-law grew up here down the street on St. Mary's Drive from us. For us, this is as close to home as we have. MCI East and the commanding general sitting over here, and II MEF, and the commanding general of II MEF, of course, is in Norway. Really fortunate to call Jacksonville home. And I'm saying that, I'm starting off there because the partnership between the Marines and the families and the base and the community, we can't skip past that. We just can't. There was a hurricane, as you mentioned, a couple of years ago. I'm not sure another place on earth could have bounced back like this place could. It's amazing. This is where the competitive edge starts. And I think the tight bond that I've seen between the installation and II MEF, again, I would say I'm not sure even at I MEF while I was there and the MCI on the West Coast, I'm not sure it's exactly the same as here. It's not as strong, just different and in a good, very good way. I think the plan that General Niebel has that's begun by General Alford and reshuffles things around on Camp Lejeune, on the base, that laydown is going to be really going to make sense, the way that you all have laid it out, because geographically, all the different headquarters and all are going to be in the right places, and everything that they're building is going to be, very resilient, very sturdy. It's not the next disaster, you're just going to go right through it. You're just going to not even going to stop training, not going to stop. And then the award for the Commander-in-Chief's Award, large installation, huge competition for that. Big pat on the back, and of course, he's so modest. General Niebel sends me a note about it saying it has nothing to do with me, and you would expect that from a leader. And it did have to do with a lot of other people, but there's a leader sitting on top. Grateful. This partnership, I'm just going back to, I think, really strong. The Carolina MAGTF, just a word or two about that, because I've served in this MAGTF 3 times. Different stages in my career, from captain to general. This MAGTF is ready for whatever the Secretary of Defense needs anywhere on the globe, hands down. I was reminded last week, we went to Norway to visit II MEF Marines. Probably some of you all will realize this, but II MEF Marines right now are deployed to 5 different combatant commands at the same time. 5. Now, you all may be tracking that. I would tell you not enough people in Washington, D.C. are. This is when people talk in the defense about partner of choice, this is partner of choice. Quick rundown for you. 3rd Battalion, 2nd Marines. They're on unit deployment program assigned to Indo-PACOM for 6 to 7 months. You know what they're doing when they're in Indo-PACOM. They are the most forward unit for the nation. They have to be ready. They're training all the time. They're ready for a crisis as part of III MEF, anywhere in that area of operations. And they're ready. And they train, they work with other countries in the Pacific the whole 6 months. They build the partnerships that, like our president talks about, it's built because II MEF Marines are in III MEF doing it. 2nd Marine Aircraft Wing has units in both Central Command and Africa Command at the same time. In Africa, they're the Crisis Response Force, KC-130s, MV-22s. Any embassy, any flare-ups in the whole continent of Africa, they are the response force. And General Townsend, who's the commanding general, the combatant command over there, whom I know really closely, if he were sitting here behind this microphone, he'd say, nobody else can do what you all do. There's nobody else that has MV-22s, nobody who flies them like you do, nobody that can provide what you do, from crisis all the way to a conflict. You all have a fighter squadron 115 that's right now in the Middle East. Not planned to go there, but they were ready to deploy. The the Secretary of Defense needed a fighter squadron in the Middle East. So off they go, and extended probably. They provide everything that General McKenzie needs in the Middle East, both short and long range, and defensive counter-air, all of that. Same time, 2nd MLG, from 2nd LSB, they're in NORTHCOM, working with Canadian counterparts in AFRICOM, all as part of Arctic Edge exercise, and you're supporting WTI all at the same time. I mean, if you look at a map, in other words, I wish there was a map up here, you would see II MEF everywhere on the globe from the Carolina MAGTF. But not enough people know it. My job is to make sure they know it. I know you don't need reminding, but that's the power of a MAGTF, that's the power of this MEF. It's really critical. Cold response. I mentioned I went to Norway. We traveled to Norway last week. You should know what that exercise is about. It's a every other year cold weather Arctic exercise, but just happened to coincide with a conflict, a war in Ukraine. Powerful. Why? Because Norway has a border with Russia. And there's nothing that sends a better reminder than about 3,500 Marines sitting on the other side of your border, like not one step further. And they're training in the middle of the winter in an Arctic environment. Arguably, from my perspective, the most challenging. Everybody's watching Ukraine. You and I know that from Norway down into Europe, some places we probably won't talk about tonight, but spread across Europe is II MEF all the way down into the Mediterranean, all the way down to Naples, all at the same time. So kind of wrapped around Ukraine, not by accident. And all of that training, all that preparation happened here, of course, in North and South Carolina. It's pretty powerful. I think I have to do a better job of explaining it. Last August, I haven't been down here in 2 months, but just a word or two about last August. At a time when the president decided that we needed to do both an evacuation and reinforce our embassy and then get them out. All a non-combatant evacuation, in other words, plus reinforce our embassy and withdraw all U.S. forces. Thank God 2-4MU was there. Trained for it. Didn't know they were going to have to do that mission. They link up with the West Coast unit in Afghanistan. And because they're all Marines, both units, both colonels quickly put 2 Marine units together into one. They're the first ones at the airport. Powerful. That kind of professionalism, again, it starts here with the training and the ranges and the maneuver areas that MCIEs provides. It's all, this is what this MAGTF is known for. And we shouldn't let that go quietly. That said, all that operations around the globe that II MEF is doing, we cannot stand still. We are the preeminent force when it comes to crisis response. We are today. I think Marines are working very hard today, harder perhaps than ever, to make sure that we're not just ready for today, but ready for tomorrow. We have to modernize the Marine Corps. Why? Not because we're not prepared this afternoon. We are. Obviously, you're in 5 different areas at the same time. But we have to modernize so that we're ready 5 years from now, 7 years from now. That's what this is about. I am just so proud. I can't really explain to you when you're sitting in a room with the Joint Chiefs and the Secretary and the President, and he asks, what's available. That's the moment, right? That's when you can say, we have Marines, and here's where they are, and they're ready to go. Today, I get to spend all day today, not with II MEF actually, but with schools, with training and education command elements sprinkled around Camp Lejeune. God, that's awesome. These people are running, these Marines, these leaders are running towards the future. Hard for us to catch up. We're just giving them a broad aim point. The schools, the instructors, the staff NCOs, the company grade answers, they are not waiting. They're asking really hard questions. They're teaching privates and PFCs how to critically think. Some people I know for generations have said this, this current crop is really soft. I would tell you, not soft. They're as hard, as tough, but better thinkers than I was when I was a lieutenant. It's amazing to watch. All that said, there's a lot that has to change in the Marine Corps and how we train, and they're already doing it, how we manage our people, but some things are not going to change. It's been a long time since 1990, 1991, Desert Shield, Desert Storm. But every year since then, the Marines from II MEF, the Marines from the operating forces, from the fleet, ready to answer the call, responded quickly, no hesitation, ready, because they were prepared. They were well led. And we always go as a Marine Air Ground Task Force, centered around the infantry. That's the centerpiece. And the spirit that goes along with fighting combined arms as a MAGTF, none of that's going to change. Our core values, what's in our soul, those 3 core values, not going to change. No reason to change them. And they guide us in everything that we do. But we have to modernize, but there's things that we hold on to, our ethos, our culture, not going to change. And every Marine in this MAGTF, I'm convinced, and an MCI East knows that. Really powerful. We are moving pretty quickly. This MEF is experimenting, is pulling part of the Marine Corps in a certain direction. All good. Our job, I think, my job at the top, give you the resources, give you broad guidance, let you run. There's no doubt in my mind that the company grade, staff NCO level, they're gonna figure things out faster than the higher headquarters will ever do. We'll just have a hard time keeping up. Thanks, Chuck, for the association organizing this evening. All day today was a great day. This evening, God, what a great way to bring it all together. So many close friends, So many people who have gone to combat, served alongside of each other, continue to train. They will never be, people like Pat will never be happy with what we have this afternoon. Thank God. Because they're going to make sure that the Marines next year and the year after that and the year after that are ready. And the whole training and education part of the Marine Corps is moving in the right direction. Well, thank you for organizing these events. Thank you for organizing the dinner this evening. Thanks for making it possible for this discussion across communities, which would be very difficult to do, except for you pulled it all together. Again, to the Marines, I would just say of II MEF, of MCI East, thank you. Should not be satisfied with the status quo. You should always challenge the direction that we're going, challenge all those assumptions. Keep going forward. Keep being prepared. And we will always be ready. Thanks, Chuck. Have a great evening. Semper Fidelis.